In Korea, there's an old belief about spirits that die in water. They don't wander like ordinary ghosts. They don't move on easily either. People say a water ghost is trapped, held down by the place it died, by the water itself, until it can do one thing. It has to pull someone into the same fate, a replacement. Only after someone else takes that place, the water ghost is finally allowed to rise and leave. That's why, in these stories, the water doesn't just feel dangerous. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 accounts tied to that belief. 3 different places, 3 different lives, and the same pattern. A brief, almost ordinary sight. I was serving my mandatory military service in a remote, mountainous area. It was summer and I was exhausted, physically, mentally, everything. I kept joking to myself that I couldn't wait for the rainy season because rain usually meant less outdoor work. I was actually hoping for it. Then the rain arrived, and it wasn't the kind that cools the air and makes the day slower. It was relentless, so heavy that even places that weren't considered flood zones started going under. The water rose fast, houses filled, livestock disappeared, and people went missing. When the rain finally stopped, it left behind a disaster. Rescue teams were overwhelmed, so our unit was sent out to assist. Our first job wasn't rebuilding fences or clearing mud. It was searching for the missing, and everyone knew what that really meant. The town was so flooded you couldn't tell where the road ended and where the river began. We moved in teams and small boats, cutting through weeds and debris that had become floating islands. I was paired with a corporal, older than me, tough, the type who enjoyed pushing juniors around. We'd been out there for days, same route, same weeds, same smell of wet soil and stagnant water. On the 4th day, something caught my eye. It looked like a cluster of dark weeds. But it was wrong. Too black, too dense, too human. I slowed the boat and drifted closer, careful with the oar. And the closer I got, the colder my body felt. It wasn't weeds. It looked like hair. Long, black hair tangled in the water, floating in a way that made my stomach tighten. I'd never seen a corpse before. Not drowning victims, not anything. So even then, a part of me tried to argue with my own eyes. I turned to the corporal. "Corporal, I think I found someone." He barely looked over. "What?" I think it's a body." He stared for a second, then snapped, "Stop saying nonsense." "It's not nonsense. I'm serious." He cursed under his breath and finally leaned forward. I pointed with the oar. The moment he saw it, his face changed, just for a heartbeat. A flicker of shock. Then he immediately forced his voice flat. "Idiot! That's not a body! Let's go!" I couldn't believe him. "What do you mean it's not? There aren't weeds that look like that." He turned on me hard like I'd insulted him. "You don't know anything. If I say it's not, it's not. Row." "But shouldn't we at least pull it up and check?" His eyes widened, and then he exploded. Sudden, violent rage, like he was trying to crush the entire conversation. He shouted at me, swore at me, barked orders until my throat closed up, and I just obeyed. I was only a junior soldier. When a superior tells you to move, you move. So I rowed. We left it behind. But the silence that followed was worse than the yelling. A few minutes later, in a quieter voice, he spoke again. "I'm sorry I cursed at you." That alone was unnatural. He never apologized for anything. Then he added, still not looking at me directly, "It's nothing. Don't think about it. But if you really can't let it go, ask the firefighters. Tell them to check." His face looked stiff, almost frightened, like someone forcing himself not to react to what he'd seen. Later, during the recovery work, we ran into firefighters we knew. Our unit had friendly ties with them. Games, casual talk, things like that. The corporal suggested a smoke break. As people chatted, I mentioned what I saw. How it looked like hair in the weeds. How it felt wrong. Nobody laughed. Nobody acted surprised either. They just exchanged a look and tried to steer the conversation away. Then, one firefighter asked carefully, "Where exactly was it?" I described the spot as best I could. The moment I did, I felt relieved, like I'd handed the weight off to someone else. That night back at the barracks, I ate instant noodles and tried to sleep, but an uneasy feeling kept circling in my head, like a mosquito you can't kill. The next morning, the mood at the site was different. People were clustered together, talking in low voices. I stepped closer, trying to listen, and then I heard it. A firefighter had gone missing during a search, and when I asked which one, someone answered, it was the same firefighter who'd asked me about the location. The one who had been standing there smoking with us the day before. My mind went blank. In flood conditions, missing was just a polite word. Everyone understood what it usually meant. The corporal's face drained of color. He grabbed my arm and pulled me away to a quieter spot. Then he asked in a voice that didn't sound like him at all, "Yesterday, that thing you saw, you're sure it was a body?" I swallowed. It looked like hair. I didn't see the face. His eyes snapped up. "You didn't see the face?" "No, just the hair." He stared at the ground for a long time, like he was weighing whether to say it out loud. Then he said quietly, "My family believes in stuff like this. A lot. My aunt is a shaman. We've done rituals." He told me that when he was in high school, people kept drowning near a river by his home. His aunt performed a ritual, and afterwards she warned him, "If you ever see a corpse in the water, don't touch it first." I frowned. "How do you retrieve it then?" He shook his head, tense. "Look at how it's positioned. A real drowned body doesn't stand straight in the water." He said it like he was repeating a lesson he'd been forced to memorize. "A body won't be upright. It'll be twisted, sideways, bent, something." Then he stared at me again. "But you said you only saw hair, like it was standing there." My mouth went dry. "So what was it?" He hesitated and then said it. "A water ghost." He didn't say it dramatically. He said it like someone confessing something he hated believing. "A drowned body can't be like that, but a water ghost can." He told me the belief, a water ghost can't move on, it can't rise, not until it replaces itself. And in that moment, everything clicked. The corporal wasn't trying to be cruel when he yelled at me. He was trying to stop me from doing the one thing his family had warned him never to do. He saw the hair, and he recognized it before I did. Days passed. The water eventually receded. The town began to recover. But the missing firefighter never came back. Time moved on. We were discharged. We returned to our lives. But even years later, when I drove past that area during summer trips, I sometimes asked locals, casually, like I was joking. And they would tell me with uneasy faces that drownings still happen there, again and again, even after rituals, even after warnings, like the water, never really gave anyone back. When I was a kid, my parents worked long hours, so I lived with my grandparents in a small riverside town. Every summer, my family would gather there, my parents, my uncle, and an older cousin. One year, they decided we should go to the river for a quiet family trip. No crowds, no tourist spots, just water, shade, and a break from the heat. We arrived at a wide river under a bridge. The current looked calm, but deep. Across from where we set up, the far bank was thick with tall reeds. Dense, bright green, almost like a wall. We pitched a tent on the gravel shore, cooked lunch, and spent the afternoon like a normal family. After we ate, everyone relaxed, and that's when it happened. I wandered off on my own, curious, moving toward the opposite side where the reeds grew thick. It felt like exploring a hidden place. As I stood near the edge, I noticed something strange inside the green. A dark shape. At first I thought it was just a shadow. Then I focused, and my chest tightened. It looked like black hair, human hair, just sitting there among the reeds, too still, too deliberate. Back then, I didn't even understand the concept of a ghost. So I didn't scream, I didn't run, I just stared, trying to make sense of why someone's hair would be there. Then my cousin grabbed me from behind. "What are you doing?" I pointed, but when we looked again, it was gone. It disappeared so cleanly that I couldn't even explain what I'd seen. My cousin didn't argue. He didn't tease me. He just held onto my arm and said we should go back. That evening, my mom and I didn't stay at the tent. We decided to sleep at my grandparents' house, while the men stayed by the river. On the way home, our car headlights swept over the road, and we all saw her. A woman standing in the dark, not moving, just standing there, as if she had been waiting. It wasn't only me. Everyone in the car saw it, including my grandparents. We drove past her. The moment we reached home, my grandmother called my dad and warned him to be careful. She said there was a woman on the road. That night, I slept in the living room with my grandparents. Sometime after midnight, a sound woke me. Knocking. Someone was knocking on the front door. As an adult, I know how wrong that feels. But as a child, I didn't understand danger the way I do now. I got up and walked to the door. Before I could speak, a voice came from outside, soft, familiar. "It's Dad, I forgot something. Can you open the door?" I put my hand on the latch, and then something in my mind hesitated. My dad was supposed to be at the river. The tent site wasn't next door. Even by car, it would take time. And there was no reason for him to be here quietly knocking in the middle of the night. I froze. The voice came again, a little more urgent. "It's Dad! Hurry! Open the door!" The words were familiar, but something about the tone felt wrong, like a recording played through a mouth that didn't belong to it. A cold realization hit me. That wasn't my father. I didn't answer. I backed away and dove under the blanket next to my grandparents, forcing myself to breathe quietly. My body wouldn't stop shaking. I don't know how long I stayed like that, but at some point, I must have drifted. When I woke again, the room felt wrong. I lifted the blanket slightly, trying to sit up, and that's when I saw it. A shadow on top of the blanket. A human-shaped shadow standing close. Slowly, I traced it with my eyes toward the living room balcony. Someone was there. A woman in white, standing on the other side of the glass. Her hair was so long it reached down to her knees. I could see her. But the voice that came from her mouth wasn't hers. "Jay, it's your uncle. I need help. Come here for a second." I couldn't move. The same sentence repeated, calm and patient, like it had all the time in the world. Then suddenly, without warning, she began pounding on the window so hard it sounded like it might crack. And then she laughed. Not a normal laugh. A loud, uncontrollable laugh. Like she was twisting her body with amusement. Like my fear was a joke she enjoyed. I don't remember falling. but I remember waking up on the floor, tangled in the blanket. The room was dark, and then something worse happened. I couldn't see. It was like someone had poured ink over my eyes. I stared, blinking, but nothing changed. Panic rose in my throat, raw animal fear. And in the darkness, right in front of me, I heard another voice. My cousin. Let's play. That's when I understood. Even though I couldn't see, I knew exactly where she was. She was inside the house, sitting close enough to whisper. And the reason I couldn't see was because her hair was draped over my face. Morning came like a mercy. I woke up soaked, my blanket wet from fear, my body trembling. I shook my grandmother awake and told her everything. Messy, panicked words. The hair in the reeds, the woman on the road, the voice at the door, the voices changing into family members. My grandmother didn't laugh. She listened carefully, then got dressed without a word. She took me to a local shaman, someone the neighborhood elders visited when things didn't feel right. I couldn't speak in front of her. I only stared at the floor. My grandmother told the story for me. The shaman listened, then said something that still chills me. She believed what followed me wasn't a water ghost. It was something from the mountain, something that notices weak, frightened people and follows. Then she said this. It called you 3 times, and you didn't go to it. That's why you're still here. I don't know what rituals they performed. I don't know what was done to cut it off. But after that day, I never saw her again. And even now, years later, when I think back to that night, one thought always returns. If I had opened the door, or if I had stepped toward the balcony, I don't think I would have made it to morning. My uncle was born in 1956. From the time he was a kid, he loved water more than anything. He wasn't just good at swimming, he was the kind of person who belonged in it. As a teenager, he trained seriously and even won awards. People around him said he had real talent. But before he could become an adult, his father passed away, and the family's finances collapsed. Dreams didn't matter anymore. Still, he couldn't let go completely. In his early 20s, he volunteered for an elite naval rescue diving unit. And on the very first day, he regretted it. The training was brutal, but he endured. During his service, he learned underwater welding and industrial diving skills. After discharge, he worked for years at a shipyard as a professional diver. Hard labor, dangerous water, long days. Then he met a woman from a small coastal island community. They fell in love, married, and settled in a quiet fishing village on the southern coast. This was decades ago, when skilled divers were rare in those areas. My uncle quickly became someone people relied on. Salvage jobs, repairs, underwater work that nobody else wanted. He worked hard, built a family, and for a while, life was stable. Then something happened that changed the village. Near the beach and the small harbor, there's a popular rocky fishing spot, jagged rocks and shallow reefs that attracted sea life. Fishermen loved it. One night, 2 fishermen disappeared there. At first, locals blamed it on carelessness. Waves can turn fast at night, people can slip. But days later, another fisherman drowned in the same area. And then rumors began to spread. A group of young fishermen had been drinking while night fishing. One of them stood close to the water to relieve himself. Then, without warning, he jumped in. At first, his friends laughed. They thought he had fallen. But then he screamed and began swimming straight out toward deep water, like he was chasing something only he could see. They shouted his name. He didn't respond. A few of them jumped in after him, but came back out in terror. half out of their minds, refusing to explain what they saw. The next day, the missing man's body washed ashore, and people said there was a clump of hair inside his mouth. After that, the village changed. Within months, even an experienced female diver, someone who worked deep water for a living, went missing. She didn't go alone. She had partners, and yet she vanished so suddenly that nobody even realized until it was too late. The village had never seen anything like it. Then, when a skilled search diver disappeared during a rescue effort, panic spread for real. People began whispering a word they didn't like saying: a water ghost. Fishing stopped. The local divers hesitated to enter the sea. Even the catch dropped, as if the water itself had turned against them. Families began leaving. The elders finally brought in a respected shaman. On the island, they called her a shinbang, a spiritual worker. She arrived near dusk, hair tied back, expression calm. She stood at the shoreline for a long time, staring at the water like she could see something underneath it. Then she muttered almost to herself, "I can barely breathe, even from here. This isn't ordinary." She shook her bell and walked along the waterline, searching. Then her face hardened, and she stepped back quickly, almost retreating. After hearing what had happened, she said she had seen many ugly things in her life, but nothing like that. She described it as something that had once been human, but no longer was. Not even a spirit with a story. Just a thing that took. The village begged her to fix it, to perform a ritual that would calm it, release it, move it on. But she warned them, with something like this, there's no conversation, no reason, no memory left. It doesn't want peace. It wants replacement. She said the only thing they could try was a sealing, an exorcism meant to lock it in place and prevent it from reaching people. For several days, at every low tide, they performed the ritual at the rocky fishing spot. Drums echoed across the shoreline long before sunrise. When it was finished, they wrapped the ritual objects with white cord, weighted them, and sank them into the sea. Before she left, the shaman gave one final warning. If anyone awakens it again, nobody will be safe. Keep people away from that place. After that, villagers drove long steel stakes into the ground around the area, painted red as a visible warning. They treated the rocks like a forbidden zone, and strangely, the deaths stopped. The village slowly recovered. 4 years passed. Then one day, my uncle's father-in-law told him something that made my uncle's stomach tighten. He said that while heading out early in the morning, he heard a sound near the beach. A voice, like a woman, or maybe like someone screaming far away. The next time he heard it, he said the moment the sound reached his ears, he felt chills and nausea so strong he turned back home. My uncle dismissed it as nerves, old fear lingering after old tragedies. Then, on a rainy autumn afternoon, storm warnings were issued and my uncle went out to check equipment. On the way back, his boat's motor suddenly died with a heavy jolt. A friend of his, someone he treated like a younger brother, jumped into the water to clear whatever had tangled the propeller. My uncle watched from the boat. Minutes passed. Too many minutes. He scanned the water, heart pounding, and his eyes drifted to the forbidden rocks. The red stakes looked darker than usual, almost watching. Right as my uncle was about to jump in, his friend surfaced briefly. My uncle tried to sound normal. "Why are you taking so long?" His friend shouted back, confused. "It doesn't feel like a net." It feels like hair. My uncle snapped. Don't talk nonsense, it's probably seaweed. But his friend insisted. He asked for cutters, said he would cut it loose. My uncle handed down tools, and then his friend went under again. He never came back up. The village mobilized. Police, rescue crews, boats. But the storm grew stronger and the search had to stop. My uncle couldn't accept it. That night, when the wind eased slightly, my uncle made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He couldn't use his full diving equipment alone. It required assistance. So he took the bare minimum, snorkel, fins, a flashlight, and went into the night sea without telling his family. He told himself it was simple. The coastline was complex. Currents could drag someone, but not far. The storm hadn't hit fully yet. He just needed to look one more time. He tied himself to a floating buoy line, a lifeline used by local divers, and began searching. Visibility was terrible. Rain returned, wind rose, waves slammed him again and again. He knew he should turn back, but he kept going. Just one more spot, he told himself. Then, down around 8 meters, his flashlight caught something, a human shape. My uncle's heart dropped. He surfaced to breathe, then dove again, aiming the light. The shape was still there. He believed it was his friend's body. He swam closer, fighting the current. It felt like the water didn't want him to reach it. 5 meters, 3, then... My uncle froze. The thing in the water was upright, not floating sideways, not twisted. Upright, like it was standing on the seafloor, and it was far too tall, at least twice the size of an adult man. Long hair spread out around it, drifting like a living net, and in that underwater silence, he heard something, a high, thin sound, like a woman imitating a diver's breathing, but wrong, artificial, disgusting. My uncle turned his head to find the source. When he looked back, the upright shape was slowly turning toward him. It wore faded traditional clothing. Its face was hidden by hair, but its movement wasn't natural, not like water pulling fabric or current shifting a body. It was deliberate. My uncle shot upward toward the surface, panic exploding in his chest. Then, right beside his ear, the sound came again. He looked around wildly. The water below was suddenly empty. And when he lifted his head, it was right in front of him. A massive face surged close, hair whipping against his eyes and mouth. My uncle screamed involuntarily, and with that scream, his remaining air left his lungs. He gasped and inhaled seawater. Pain tore through his chest. He fought upward again. Then his legs stopped moving. His flashlight flickered and died. In the darkness, he reached down instinctively and felt it. Fingers, long fingers with sharp nails gripping his fin. My uncle kicked, tore his fin off, and surged upward, pure survival. But when he broke the surface, the situation was even worse. He had lost the lifeline. He couldn't see the shore. There was no moon, only rain, wind, and black waves. He swam blindly, choking, swallowing water, terrified that at any second his ankle would be grabbed again and pulled down. He began to weaken. His body went cold. Then something hard slammed into his head, a rock, an outcrop. He grabbed it with both hands and dragged himself up, ripping his skin open, bleeding but alive. When he finally managed to get his flashlight working again, the beam revealed something that made him go numb. Red stakes. He had washed up on the forbidden rocks, the very place the shaman had warned them about. He stood there shaking, blood running down his face, trying to decide whether to risk the water again to reach shore. Then he lifted the light. and saw heads in the water. Dozens of human heads packed close together, facing away from him. They weren't drifting naturally with the waves, they were still. One head stood out, a shaved haircut, a familiar ear shape. It was his missing friend. My uncle shouted his name, voice breaking. No answer. Then a sharp sound cut through the wind, more of that unnatural breathing, closer now. My uncle turned his light and saw it peeking from behind the rocks. Its face was swollen, pale blue, distorted. Its eyes were slits, sunk deep into the skull. Its hair was dry-looking, even in the wet air, like animal fur, and its clothing was stained in dull, dark patches. My uncle felt the final, clean truth. If he stayed, he would die. He counted to 3 and jumped. He swam for shore with everything he had left, but his body was destroyed, wounds stinging, muscles failing. Then something wrapped around his fingers. Hair. Rough, heavy hair. He thought, it followed me. And he gave up. He stopped fighting. His consciousness faded. Then, a punch hit his face. Hard. His eyes snapped open, and he realized people were grabbing him, dragging him through shallow water. Local men had seen a figure struggling in the waves and rushed in, thinking it was the missing friend. They pulled my uncle out. He survived, barely. He needed blood transfusions and stitches. His fingers were fractured from clinging to rock. But surviving wasn't the end. After that night, my uncle couldn't escape the sea even in sleep. He dreamed of bright, calm water, his friend floating in the distance, and as he swam closer, darkness would fall like a curtain. Then the thing would appear, smiling, mouth wide, filled with hair and dark liquid. He would wake choking, heart hammering, convinced he could still smell it. Eventually, he quit diving. He turned his back on the ocean he used to love. Years later, he left the island and moved back inland, trying to recover with faith and routine and distance. Decades passed. And even now, I sometimes wonder, what he saw that night? Was it sealed? Or is it still there, waiting behind those rocks, until someone steps too close and the water decides to take again?